Yeah, I've watched a little bit of Gotham. I didn't do a deep dive into it,
Hmm.
but I did like what I saw. What was it like being on that show?
Oh, that was amazing. That was the when I got signed by my agent back in 2018, and that was the first show I booked. Gotham, for those that may not have watched it, was about Gotham City, of course. Batman. It was the story of Batman. Is Bruce Wayne was a young kid. He was out with his parents. His parents got shot, and he became Batman as he grew up. Well, that Gotham takes place from that moment until he becomes Batman. So it's those years in between, and it's more about the rise of the criminals. And I have to say, I was lucky to get that part. Okay, for a number of reasons. First of all, the episode I filmed was the very last before they wrapped the show. Okay, after they filmed the episode I was in, the show was over. They tore down the sets, and I was in the third last episode to air. Okay, so season 5, episode 8. Another thing was that the one of the actors I was performing opposite is his name was Andrew Sellon, who played Mr. Penn on the show. Mr. Penn ended up being a character called the ventriloquist, and he was able to talk the writers into bringing the ventriloquist character on because they had all the other enemies on there, the Penguin, the Riddler, the Scarecrow, Mr. Freeze, every Batman villain you can think of was on there. And then they had Mr. Penn, the ventriloquist, towards the end. They were able to talk him into it, and then that's how I ended up getting my part. I played a character named Dale, who was one of the Penguin's henchmen. And I didn't talk, I was a mute. And the thing that was great about this, when I went to the audition, I went to New York City to audition for this part. And there were 2 characters I was auditioning for in this specific episode. One was Dale, who I played, and I got that part. The other one was a mutant that was in the tunnel of this, like an underground tunnel somewhere, and ended up getting into a fight with Bruce Wayne and Alfred. And so I went to this audition. I auditioned for 2 parts. The first part that I got Dale, all I had to do was make dumb looks. I just had to be like, because, I was this idiot. And the second one, I had to make growling and snarling noises like the Tasmanian devil. And I ended up booking the parts. I got up to New York City. It was filmed in Brooklyn at Steiner Studios. And this was like right after Thanksgiving of 18. I get up there, and this is like the most amazing place I've ever seen in my life. It's like the size of a super Walmart, but like 12 stories high or something. And you're walking through there, and you're seeing all kinds of sets. All these TV shows are filmed there. We were right down the hall from where FBI was being shot and a couple of other shows. And you could just walk around and see these sets. I mean, it was like you're walking through a mall, and there you are in Gotham City Hall. You were in the Sirens nightclub. You were in the Penguin's office. It was really an interesting experience going through there. So I get there, I get to my dressing room, and wardrobe brought my clothes over, so I was starting to get myself together, and they were going to bring me breakfast, which was cool. And so I'm in my dressing room, and I look over, and there's Andrew Sellon. He goes, "Hi, how are you? I'm Andrew." And I'm like, "It's Mr. Penn, holy," And so I got talking to him. He was very, very nice, very, very welcoming. The whole cast was really like a family there, and they were really close-knit, very, very tight, very, friends. There was a lot of very big friendships there between the rest of the cast. Again, I was there on the last day, so I really didn't get a chance to know anybody well. I was also playing against the Penguin. His name was Robin Lord Taylor, and I'm a big boy. All right, I'm 6'6". Okay, and we were waiting outside of the set to go in. Okay, and I was playing again his henchman, big dumb guy, and I was carrying a tray of food. and it was real food. It wasn't prop food or anything like that. And on the tray was some open tins of sardines and anchovies and grapes, and I think a can of tuna or something. So it was a little, and I was holding it up about chest high. He's about 5'6". So we were waiting outside, waiting for our cue to come into the set. He turned around to say something to somebody. He ended up being like nose to nose with the tray of food. And he's like, "Oh man, what the hell is all that?" And I said, he just looked up at me and I said, he goes, "You eat this stuff?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I get sardines once a year or something like that. I don't mind that." And I said, "It's definitely not date food," and he started laughing. And, we did our set, we did the shoot and everything together. It was great. I can't get over how the sets were put together, all the way they would light things. The room that we were in was like a laboratory. And one thing that I thought was really interesting was like when it came to all the props and everything, there was like 1 million books up on the shelves, old books, old science books, old, leather-bound books. Every book in there was real. There were none of those like IKEA fake boxes that look like books. They were all real books. And they had lights outside to make it look like it was evening, morning, all kinds of ways to set it up and everything. It was just amazing walking through these sets and everything and seeing everything. And I was really grateful to have had that opportunity,